Welcome back. Now, the African Union has suspended Mali's membership in response to last week's military coup and threatened sanctions if a civilian-led government is not restored. The military arrested interim President Baddo and Prime Minister Mokhtar Awane last week and pressured them to resign, derailing a transition to democratic elections after another military coup last August ousted the previous administration. Former Vice President Assimi Goïta, the colonel who led the August coup and last week's revolt, was declared president on Friday. With an analysis on this, I'm now joined via Skype by journalist Mohamed Salaha to give us a bit more details. Mohamed, good morning and thank you so much for joining us here, and good morning, Namibia.
Thank you. Good morning.
Mohamed, just to start with, what do you make of, the African Union's suspension of Mali's membership in response to last week's military coup?
This is it's normal. A coup is against African Union tests, African Union protocols. So when it's a coup, it's normal that African Union condemn and take sanction regarding to the text, the rules which regulate the African Union. So it's normal African Union suspends Mali. It follows ECOWAS, which is a West African Regional Board states, because they also suspend Mali. So those political sanctions are normal because a coup is against even Malian constitution and most of our country's institution. So, and ECOWAS, African Union's protocols, it's written that a coup is anti-constitutional. So this is a normal situation when African Union condemned, when African Union put sanction, or when African Union took a resolution to threaten a country, even not Mali, a country which made a coup. But it also depends on the context in which country this coup is done. In 1 month, in 9 months, Mali had 2 coups. So it's normal to analyze the situation and see how African Union and how ECOWAS and other partners could support Mali. So we hope that those sanctions will be lifted as soon as possible.
Yeah, and also the AU has called for swift return to civilian rule, failing which they will impose targeted sanctions. What would be the impact of these sanctions, Mohamed?
For the instance, the sanctions are only political, and these not implicate directly the populace, the civilian, because political sanction goes only with the leaders, the political leaders, and the military who are in charge of the country. So it's why now populace do not see the hardship of the sanction. When it's only politics, it does not affect the populace directly. So life goes normal in Mali, and the populace are going on, and their business is not like the former coup. The former coup in last 9 months, which really affects the country, because ECOWAS has put economical sanction. No money transfers, borders have been closed, and all those cases are not done this time. So suspend Mali politically, these have not direct impact to the civilian, direct impact to the populace who are seeking for their daily life.
And this is the second coup in 9 months, Mohamed. How did Mali get to this point?
Mali got this point. Let's take the second the second one, the last coup which happened last weekend. You know, after deposing the president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, the junta led by Assimi Goita, a Malian autonomous special forces colonel. So ECOWAS said it's not possible for a military to come to power. Just hand over the power to civilians. So it's the reason why they choose they choose Banda, which is a retired colonel. So by the time the collaboration became more and more difficult, and the two leaders, the president and the vice president of the Tanzania, they could not understand each other because they do not share the same vision. So it was difficult. That's why the vice president, who is in charge, who is the strong man of the country, between brackets, he's the strongest because he did the coup, and he was unable to be in power. So at that time, when things become difficult, tension between the president and the vice president, after a cabinet reshuffle last week, two key persons of the former junta who deposed the president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita were not in the cabinet. So this is where the frustration is from, and the military took action by arresting the president and his prime minister, accusing them to violate the transition charter, and accusing them to make this cabinet without consulting them. So the problem is from where two key persons of the junta, or the former junta, who deposed the president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita in August, come to also depose Bandao, who was the acting president of the transition.
Now, how will this latest coup and Mali's suspension from the African Union affect the commitment to hold presidential elections in February, and also affect, the regional fight against Islamist militants?
It's true that this suspension affects politically Mali, Malian leader, the new political leader who are military, to take part to African Union meetings and ECOWAS also meetings, and it also affects the country, which is in a process of combating terrorism, combating, who is also engaged in war. Mali lost a large part of its country because of the war in the north, in the center, and we have international troops helping Mali. While all this is happening, our military, who are supposed to go to the field to go for war, are taking the power and implementing themselves in the capital, in the administration, changing the uniform with civilian dress, and this is very dangerous, and it really affects the fight against Islamism. So that's why ECOWAS, international committees, call for military to go back to their barrack. Going back to their barrack, they could do better their work, which is defending the country, is taking the country defense, it's protecting civilians, and take definitely the defense of the country. And unfortunately, currently, they are looking for power. They are they are making themselves strong in administration. They are nominating themselves in high positions. This creates some frustration in Bamako after the coup, when the colonels, a lot of colonels, occupy some administration positions in Bamako, while their place is in the north, is in the center, to fight against terrorism. We cannot understand where, when international troops, United Nations, MINUSMA, Barkhane, G5 Sahel, Chadian are on the field combating terrorism for Mali, and Malian military are in Bamako taking the power. This is very complicated. So this could really affect. That's why France pretends to withdraw their troops in Mali.
Yeah. After the suspension from the AU last year, Mali was reinstated back into the AU. Do you foresee that it will be the same this time around, that there'll be a U-turn for Mali and they'll return back into the AU anytime soon?
No, it's not the same. It cannot be the same because, for the instance, we don't have hard sanction. It's only suspension. But what could be dangerous is the threats done by African Union, and we hope we will not come to the threat. But there is something very difficult. It's very difficult for the new authorities who took the power, the Afsimi Goita, the junta leader, took the power to hand over the power to civilian. When I say hand over the power to civilian, I mean to give the power to a civilian president of transition. That will be very difficult. I would say impossible, because we see Assimi Goita, the junta leader, is putting himself in a role of full president of transition, and he will be swearing in Monday. So that would be impossible to hand over the power to a civilian president. That is very clear. And we hope it will not be difficult, because it's at this stage it's only political sanction. So we hope that we will not going through economic sanction. It's important to notice that ECOWAS has called all partners to support Mali, but the support will be done in some criteria, respecting the calendar of the election. So we hope we will not go to harder sanctions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Mohammed, we've come to the end of our discussion this morning. Perhaps just your final remarks.
Please, didn't get you?
I'm saying just your final remarks.
Final remark is that here in Mali, we more need militaries in the field than in the offices, because we are in a process of war, and this junta is our prestigious armies forces, which is now in Bamako, coming to power and nominating other colleague militaries in offices. So military to the barracks, power to politicians.
Mohammed Salaha, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for joining us here on Good Morning Namibia.
Thank you so much.
That was Mohammed Salaha speaking to us via Skype from Mali, a local journalist talking to us about Mali's latest coup and the developments on that. We'll be right back after the short break.